The summer air in the city was thick and heavy, clinging to everything. Miles always took the long way back to campus after his shift at the downtown diner, a route that meandered through quiet, tree-lined streets. He preferred the stillness to the busier avenues. Tonight, the paper bag in his hand held a slice of cherry pie. The sweet sent a small rebellion against the greasy diner smells that clung to his clothes. The alley was a shortcut he usually avoided, but his feet were tired. The sound of muffled voices and a sharp thud against brick made him pause. He stopped under the lone, flickering streetlight, its yellow glow barely cutting the deep shadows. A group of older guys, their postures all aggressive angles, had a younger man pinned against the graffiti-stained wall. The scene was a cliché, something from a bad movie. Miles wasn't a hero. He had his own scars, ones that didn't show. He had learned long ago that picking fights for strangers was a fool's game. He tightened his grip on the bag, the flaky crust of the pie promising a sweetness the world often lacked. He took a step forward, intent on passing by. A pair of eyes caught his from the gloom. Not frightened, not pleading. Just startlingly clear, locked onto his with an intensity that was unsettling. It was the quiet focus of an animal watching, waiting. Something in Miles's chest gave a hard, inconvenient thump. He sighed, the sound swallowed by the humid night. He walked past the ringleader, a guy with a snake tattoo coiling up his neck, and without a word, brought the paper bag down squarely on the man's head. The container burst, sending a mess of red cherries and crust into greasy hair. What the hell? The man sputtered, whirling around. You got a death wish? Miles looked down at him, his expression bored. You're blocking the sidewalk. And your girlfriend's dessert choices aren't anyone else's problem. It was over quickly. Their bravado was no match for the kind of practical, efficient violence Miles had learned in backroom gyms, not for sport but for survival. They limped away, cursing. Miles turned to the boy still leaning against the wall, a thin trail of blood from his lips stark against his pale skin. He was handsome in a classic, almost delicate way, but his gaze was steady. Miles whistled softly. You okay? The boy nodded, wiping his mouth with the back of his hand. Thank you. Don't mention it. Got $20? You owe me for the pie. A faint smile touched the boy's lips. He pulled a folded bill from his jeans. Will this cover it? Miles took it. It'll do. Miles. Leo, the boy said. Leo Hart. From that night, Leo became a constant. He explained, a business major, a year younger, unbearably earnest in his gratitude. He brought coffee to Miles's early classes, remembered how he took it. He was quiet, brilliant in a studious way that Miles found both foreign and intriguing. And he had a single, relentless request. Teach me, Leo would say, his voice low and serious. How to defend myself. I don't want to be that helpless again. Miles resisted. He didn't want to be anyone's teacher, didn't want the responsibility. But Leo was persistent, showing up at the campus gym, watching with those intense, absorbing eyes. When Miles finally gave in, he told himself it was to get some peace. The lessons were conducted in the old, dusty wrestling room. The smell of sweat and old mats was familiar, a scent that spoke of effort and strain. Teaching meant contact. Guiding Leo's stance, correcting the line of his shoulder, feeling the latent strength in the younger man's frame. Miles found his attention wandering from the techniques to the details. The way Leo's dark hair curled slightly at the nape of his neck. The concentrated furrow of his brow. The surprising heat of his skin through a thin cotton t-shirt. It was a slow, insidious shift. The protective, almost brotherly feeling he'd begun with started to curdle into something warmer, more possessive. Leo was the perfect student, attentive and quick, but there was an undercurrent Miles couldn't quite name. A stillness in him that felt less like passivity and more like patience. One Friday, they went to a pool hall downtown, a place with sticky floors and the constant click of balls. Miles was perched on the edge of a table, the wood digging into his thigh through his shorts. Leo was bent over a shot, the neck of his t-shirt gaping to reveal the sharp cut of his collarbones. The overhead light caught his eyes, turning them into pools of liquid amber. They weren't on the ball. They were fixed on Miles's leg, bare against the green felt. A familiar, restless itch traveled up Miles's spine. "You here to learn or stare?" Leo flinched, his cheeks flushing a deep pink. He looked away quickly. "Sorry, Miles." Miles slid off the table, approaching him. "Here. Your form's off." He placed his hands on Leo's shoulders, applying a gentle pressure. "Chest needs to be closer to the cue. Like this." He leaned in, his voice dropping. He could see the faint dusting of freckles across Leo's nose. "I understand," Leo murmured. There was a solid thunk. The ball rolled smoothly into the corner pocket. Leo straightened up, his face transforming with a bright, triumphant smile. He turned, and in his excitement, his cheek brushed against Miles's jaw. The contact was fleeting, accidental, a whisper of soft skin. It sent a jolt straight through Miles, settling low in his stomach. Leo seemed oblivious, his attention back on the table. "I'm gonna get some air," Miles said, his voice tighter than he intended. In the narrow hallway outside, he leaned against the cool cinderblock wall, trying to steady his breathing. The spot where Leo had touched him felt branded. He fumbled for a cigarette he didn't light, just rolling it between his fingers. The truth, stark and undeniable, crystallized in the dim light. This wasn't just attraction. It was a deep, aching pull towards the quiet young man who had woven himself so completely into the fabric of his days. Leo found him there a few minutes later. "Everything okay?" Miles just nodded, finally lighting the cigarette. He took a drag, the smoke bitter on his tongue. "Just needed a minute." Leo watched him, his expression unreadable in the shadows. The air between them grew thick, charged with all the things left unsaid. It felt like a contest, a silent battle of wills where neither knew the rules. Back at their shared apartment in the newer student housing complex, the tension didn't dissipate. It simmered. Miles heard the shower run for a long time after they returned. When Leo emerged, his skin was flushed pink, his hair dark and damp. He wouldn't meet Miles's eyes. "Your turn," he said softly, before disappearing into his bedroom. The bathroom smelled strongly of the cedar-scented diffuser Leo had recently bought. The window was open, letting in a cool breeze. Miles was tired, his thoughts a jumble. As he stepped towards the shower, his foot slid on the slick tile. He lurched forward, throwing his arms out to catch himself on the vanity, his elbow taking the brunt of the impact with a painful crack. The door flew open instantly. Leo stood there, his eyes wide. Miles was in a ridiculous, compromised position, one leg of his sweatpants around his ankle. He saw his own startled reflection, and behind him, Leo's frozen form. Then Leo was at his side, his hands careful as he helped him up. "Are you hurt? Let me see." He led Miles to the bed and fetched the first aid kit, his movements precise. He kneeled, applying ointment to the reddening skin on Miles's elbow with a tenderness that made Miles's throat tighten. He blew gently on it, the cool air doing little to calm the riot of sensations. It wasn't the pain. It was the focused attention, the brush of Leo's fingers. "I'm fine," Miles said, his voice rough. He pulled his arm back. "It's nothing." Leo's hand lingered for a second before he withdrew. His face was flushed again. "You should rest." Later, as Miles drifted off, he heard the shower start once more. He glanced at the thermostat. The room was cool. A plan formed, clumsy and fueled by a mix of genuine desire and strategic advice from a teammate who was far more experienced in certain matters. Miles ordered clothes online, things he would never normally wear. A fitted Henley, a pair of dark jeans that felt too tight. He felt like an actor preparing for a role. The opportunity came after a lacrosse team party. Miles drank just enough to justify a slight unsteadiness, to let the warmth color his skin. He texted Leo to pick him up. Leo supported him on the walk home, his arms solid around Miles's waist. Miles let himself lean into the touch, let his hands settle on Leo's hip. He could feel the tension humming through the younger man's body. Back in their apartment, Miles pretended a drunkard's craving. "I want a burger from that place on Elm." "It's late, Miles. You should sleep. Please?" Miles laid it on thick, pouting just a little. The moment the door closed behind Leo, Miles moved. He changed quickly, the new clothes unfamiliar and constricting against his skin. In his haste, he knocked over a glass of water on the nightstand, drenching the front of the thin gray fabric. Clung to him, transparent. The door opened. "They were closed. I got you a chocolate shake instead." Leo's words died in his throat. The cup hit the floor with a dull splat. He stood perfectly still, his eyes traveling over Miles with a look that was entirely new. It was hunger, raw and undisguised, stripping away every pretense of the polite, diligent student. The door clicked shut behind him, the sound final. "Miles," he breathed, the word strained. "What are you doing?" Miles's heart hammered against his ribs. This was it. He crooked a finger. "Come here." Leo crossed the room slowly, each step deliberate. When he was within reach, Miles grabbed a fistful of his shirt and pulled, using his momentum to twist and shove Leo back onto the mattress. He followed him down, pinning him with a knee beside his hip, a forearm resting lightly against his throat. It was a dominant position, one he'd taught Leo weeks ago. "You don't know this move?" Miles whispered, his lips close to Leo's ear. He could feel the frantic pulse beneath his skin. "Want to learn?" He softened his hold just enough. "Kiss me and I'll teach you everything." Leo's breath hitched. His eyes searched Miles's face. Is this real?" Miles brushed the hair from Leo's forehead. His smile felt wild. "What do you think?" A beautiful, devastating red spread across Leo's cheeks and down his neck. His voice was barely audible. "If I learn, will you give me a reward?" Confusion flickered through Miles for only a second. Then, with a speed and precision that stole the air from his lungs, the world flipped. His own arm was leveraged against him. His body effortlessly rolled and pressed into the mattress. Strong fingers circled his wrists, holding them captive. Leo loomed over him, his weight settling, his eyes dark with a storm of emotion. He leaned down, his lips brushing the shell of Miles's ear. His voice was a low, rough thing Miles had never heard before. "You have no idea," he murmured, one hand sliding down to rest possessively on Miles's hip. "What you do to me. How long I've wanted this." He pressed a soft, open-mouthed kiss to Miles's shoulder. "So no, I don't think this is a lesson. I think it's an answer." The kiss that followed was nothing like the chaste, accidental touch in the pool hall. It was deep and claiming, pouring years of suppressed want into a single, searing connection. Miles stopped fighting, stopped thinking. The shock gave way to a flood of warmth, of rightness. He had been trying to set a trap, only to realize he had willingly walked into one a long time ago. The morning light was unforgiving. Miles ached in places he'd forgotten he had. Leo was already awake, hovering with a glass of water and an expression of such tender concern it was almost laughable. "You," Miles said, his voice hoarse. He pointed a shaky finger. "Come here." Leo obeyed, kneeling on the bed beside him. Miles lifted a hand and swatted at his face, the action weak and utterly ineffective. Leo caught his wrist, turning his hand to press a kiss into the palm. "You lied," Miles accused, but the heat was gone from his words. "You're not some helpless kid." Leo's gaze was unwavering, full of a vulnerability that was somehow more powerful than any display of strength. "I only lied about one thing, that I needed you to teach me how to fight." He brought Miles's hand to his cheek. "The truth is, I just needed you to see me. Everything else, I was just waiting for you to catch up." And as Miles looked into those clear, earnest eyes, he saw it. Not a follower, but a hunter who had walked patiently at his side for miles, waiting for him to choose the path that led them right here. He had been so busy playing the guide, he never noticed who was really leading him home. He pulled Leo down, the protest dying on his lips as they kissed again, softer this time. The game was over. They had both won.